Happily reading you somebody else's mail. This is the man in the mythos. Welcome back. I am Kamar Zaman. And tonight's letter I'm reading to you won't be completely PC. Keep in mind, I'm reading a letter which is a product of its time. The author is a product of its time, and times have passed. Flaws aside, this is one of my favorite letters. I always find something new about it, and I feel like it's a good look at the life of a reclusive author. Letter 183 to Mrs. F. C. Clark, Wednesday morning, May 20th, 1925. My dear daughter Lillian. Here I'll have to admit a fall from grace so far as non-purchasing is concerned. For a great volume of Bulwer Lytton, with the most weird novels complete.
Suddenly, a strange story.
And
The House in the Brain,
for only
10 cents.
proved a fatal bait, and I departed from the Schult Emporium with less in my pocket and more in my hand, but only a dime. Remember, you may smilingly doubt the genuineness of old Theobald's retirement from the world, but look sharp. The hour was 2 p.m., and Kirk was ready for an afternoon of empty dawdling and bookstalls and cafeterias. Already he had proposed some coffee in the Sheridan Square place, where you got that breaded veal you didn't like, since the Downing Street joint was weak on that old beverage. But what do you suppose Grandpa did? I'll tell you. The old gentleman made exceedingly polite excuses, bowed low, and took the underground stage coach. "Straight home, James!" where he sat tight reading and writing all the rest of the day, retired at night, and arose on the morrow to tuck his books under his arms and start for a solitary open day in nearby Fort Greene Park. There, on a bench against a secluded verdant slope, I read continuously all day, stopping only at twilight when I wended my homeward way, pausing at John's Spaghetti, place for my usual Sunday dinner of meatballs and spaghetti, vanilla ice cream and coffee. Incidentally, not many doors away on the other side of Willoughby Street, I found a restaurant which specializes in home-baked beans. It was closed on Sunday, but I shall try it, for some time soon. If they had baked beans for 15 cents, with pork, 20 cents, with Frankfurt sausages, 25 cents. Yes, here's a place I will pay my investigation. After dinner, I laid in some supplies at the cheapest place opening on Sunday, thence proceeding home, where I took one of our 4x4 dining room chairs and went out for the evening to my alcove with a pile of books. A knock came at the door, but I wasn't there. Windows and door tracks showed no light. Whose business whither I'd gone, and so till bedtime I quietly turned in. Awaking Monday noon, and resuming my reading and writing. Having supplies, I didn't go out on or dress, but when the evening came I decided it wouldn't be polite to be out again. 2 nights in succession would seem odd at first, though that will come very soon, when the gang's habit is weakened a trifle more. Thus I let the light show, and surely enough Loveman called. Now grass is settled work. I was cordial, but in slippers and dressing gown, and with the room not picked up I apologized, but introduced no new or personal topics, with the sight of my writing all heaped up about me, and the burthen of conversation all thrown on him. My guest did not loll in the Moor's chair by the hour as usual, but shortly adjourned to Kirk's den, though not without a promise to call on his way down. Another half-hour passes, and still I write. Now come Kirk's 3 familiar taps on the radiator pipe, to which I have to respond, since he knows I'm home. But my response is slow, and when I arrive I am cordial but not inventive of conversation. Another half-hour, and Loveman leads with perfect cordiality, whilst Kirk puts himself in line for a favour, a thing I am particularly glad to grant him, since he has virtually forced so many substantial courtesies upon me. He, it appears, had also been loafing about, or working about, in his dressing gown, and was greatly in want of a meal, yet reluctant to bother to dress. Now I too was about to dine, with the utmost hospitality, and invited him down, treated him to A and B spaghetti cheese, bread, and vanilla wafers of my best blue china, and bade him a courtly adieu almost immediately afterward, for he too felt the inadvisability of lingering in view of the obvious air of preoccupation about the place. All this while I had been lightly, banteringly alluding my literary reform to both Kirk and Loveman, and speaking of the solid work ahead of me. Thus it was easy to capture the morrow by taking in initiative about when I would meet them again, saying I would see them at the regular boys' meeting Wednesday, and thus virtually exempting Tuesday. By this step I would be sure of a quiet Tuesday night, without retiring to the alcove. And so it was I rested, Was up again Tuesday afternoon, wrote letters undisturbed well into the night, rested again, and am now on deck once more. Without having looked on a human face in the interim, today I must do some shopping. Perhaps I'll take in that grey suit and see how much it'll come, and maybe I'll be bold enough to graduate to a straw hat, and let my felt be cleaned, and in the evening I shall be a host at a boys' meeting. This is a McNeil meeting. Won't probably be dull since Morton doubts if he can come while Sonny's by no means certain. These formal meetings I won't try to dodge just yet. The big thing is to get rid of that daily dropping in cafeteria loafing, which is death to any personal intellectual life or creative accomplishment. It'll just be hard to shelve the gang. With tact I am certainly doing it. Just now my prime difficulty is how not to offend Loveman by refusing his proposition for a Philadelphia excursion some Sunday soon. He wants to see the colonial part of town, and wishes my services as a guide, being eager to pay my fare at a special excursion rate of $3. Now, if I had the money, I'd be glad enough for the trip. Heaven knows I want to see a real white man's town badly enough, but unless I pay my own fare, there will be an inescapable atmosphere of obligation which will lessen my sense of independence in breaking free. It is such dubious taste to let a fellow treat one to a trip on Sunday and refuse to open the door on him on Monday evening, so we'll have to squirm out. Though how to do it without offense in view of the present cordiality will certainly require allopathic doses of the subtlety I've been detailing in the past few pages. Saturday night is the blue pencil meeting at the Simonton studio, but I rather think I'll cut it despite my oratorical reproofs which Mortonius will heap upon my head. I may, though, take in the New Jersey picnic and hike Memorial Day. In the June Seacrest is coming to New York again for a day or so, bringing 2 of his children, an occasion on which I feel it a duty to repay the consideration which he showed me in Washington. Your most affluent nephew and observant servant, H.P.L. Now, as I said, this letter wasn't the most PC, but I still like how he tried to dodge out of social obligations and talking with other people, albeit for money or just wanting to be alone when he reads and writes. And first time I read this, I got a sudden craving for spaghetti and meatballs. And third time I've been reading it, I've caught on about Bulwer Lytton and how much Lovecraft seemed to enjoy him seemingly as a guilty pleasure, or maybe the guilty pleasure could be in spending money when he didn't have any. I find Bulwer Lytton to be just an interesting fellow, and not just for the line of, "It was a dark and stormy night." Tonight's music was Intolerance by Constantine Trocoy. You can find more of his stuff on SoundCloud and Free Music Archives. And the letter was read from Selected Letters by H.P. Lovecraft, published by Arkham House. You can find more of their material at arkhamhouse.com. This is Kamar Zaman, wishing you a good night, and have some spaghetti.